Bonsoir, this is South Africa Tonight. Vous êtes le bienvenue on eNCA. The first group of Banyana Banyana players are on a flight to the FIFA Women's World Cup after a chaotic week which saw them, the team, not playing against Botswana on Sunday. It later emerged that the team had been barred from boarding the bus to the stadium. There were developments today as the Mtimkulu Foundation helped end the problem between SAFA and the African champions. eNCA's Tshepo, Thobane and Hloni Mtimkulu have been following the story and join me live in studio. A very good evening to the both of you. Great to have you. Hloni, let me start with you. I mean, everyone wants to get a sense of clarity. Let's finally put this to bed. Banyana were going to play on Sunday. They didn't play. What happened?
Yeah, Arthur, so an impression was created, or seems to have been created, that the players didn't want to play that match on Sunday and that, you know, in their boycott of things, they weren't going to play and they didn't make it to the stadium. But, and I think Tshepo will talk more to this, that there was an issue with the transport and they had to get themselves to the stadium because of that transport issue. And even once they were inside the stadium, and we have those visuals, that they were then barred from entering the stadium and even from watching the match after the match had started with this other team of players. So they did want to play. They didn't say they didn't want to play. There were grievances that they had raised, and not even on the Sunday or the Saturday. They had raised their concerns days before, but these weren't addressed at the time, and so we then ended up with all of this that has happened over the past 4 days or so.
Let's go deep into the story, Hloni. I mean, how much do we know about this financial dispute that led to the Mtimkulu Foundation eventually stepping in?
I think it's important to point out that Dr. Precious Mtimkulu did say that they are the African champions and they need to be treated like the African champions that they are, not to have all of this happening. And, you know, part of it is the fact that there was prize money that FIFA committed to the players, that the players are meant to get this $30,000 US, which is about 560,000 rand.
Yes.
Players were reportedly not going to get all of it. Some of it was going to be kept by the association. But also the fact that the association themselves weren't going to cough out a separate amount of money for the players. So there's always been this conversation around, do you use the governing body money to pay players, do you use your own money? But the players wanted to know, what is your own commitment to us, besides what FIFA has laid down? But it goes beyond that as well. There was the fact that they wanted other issues around women's football and how women's football is handled, the professionalization of women's football, all those sorts of issues ironed out as well. A lot like issues from a long time ago that they wanted to be addressed, not just for this World Cup, but for future as well. So not just a financial dispute, it is important, I think, to point that out, but that it's just a general issue that they have found around how women's football is treated in the country, Arthur.
Well, Tshepo, you here, you were caught running around looking for players at the OR Tambo International Airport. It's good to have you back in studio. You had a chance to speak to some of the players. What did you get in terms of the sense of the players, and especially with what happened over the last few days?
Before I answer that question, Arthur, I mean, I think it's also important for us to stress the fact that what happened on Sunday was really a sad day for football in the country. I mean, you have a whole national team from Botswana coming to play. You have a makeshift team, to so-called Banyana Banyana team, representing the country, wearing the flag of the country. What I said, hopefully that was the first and the last time we see such an incident. Coming back to your question, interestingly, I mean, today, I'm sure even Hloni can say, my only disappointment is that it was not a proper send-off in terms of you have fans, you know,
the Cecil send-off was cancelled.
The Cecil event was cancelled yesterday. I mean, these are African champions. They go to a biggest football competition in the world in that manner. It's very, very disappointing. But being that as it may, the players looked comfortable. They looked relaxed today after a very, very hectic past few days. In fact, one of the points of contention is the contract, because we thought that maybe after today's earlier press briefing, they would have signed the contract. But I spoke to Thembi Kgatlana, who said that no, they haven't signed the contract, but they are still going to the World Cup to play. They will put that aside for now. Let's take a listen to what she said.
I mean, we didn't sign a contract, we signed an annexure. So the contract is an ongoing thing. It's not something that you can sort out. That's why for many years it was never settled, you know. We need to come into an agreement, of course, over the long term of things that need to change, of how things need to be done. And it's a constant negotiation between the union, the people that are fighting for us, and the federation to, you know, come to a perfect agreement of making sure that both parties are happy.
I mean, Tshepo, this problem cannot persist, as you mentioned, in the near future. You were at the Tsakane Stadium on Sunday. Do you think that the team, the makeshift team that was fielded, was supposed to play against Botswana? They deserved a send-off and they didn't get it.
Yeah, talking about that makeshift team, I can imagine me being one of the girls playing football in and around Tsakane, being called to say, come and represent. For me, I would obviously not understanding the politics behind why we are playing, but I would want to shine. I mean, if they came to me and say, play for Banyana Banyana, I would go. But I think also, despite the fact that what happened, those ladies also, perhaps we should give them special mention, Hloni, for accepting the collab, for sort of like saving the nation. Because if you look at it, you flip the coin, if we did not play, South Africa or SAFA, we're going to be fined for not pitching up. So I don't know how you see it.
I mean, what's going to happen with South Africa's ranking losing 5-0 to a team that's way below them in Botswana, you know? So there's all of those, but they did honor the fixture. So, I mean, that part is sorted, yeah.
Fantastic. We have run out of time. Tshepo, Hloni, thank you very much. Those are eNCA sports reporters. Of course, just speaking to us about what transpired today. The first group of Banyana Banyana players are already on their plane to Australia and New Zealand. The second group to leave tomorrow.